Oh, are we back? I think we're back. Okay. So I significantly reduced the quality of the stream. And hopefully it feels faster a little bit, but like not super significantly. Can I close the stream preview on Twitch? Hide player. I don't know if that'll make much difference. So I changed the resolution. I like cut it down a lot. It does feel faster. Oh yeah, I kind of already got an item. I'll start over. It does feel quite a bit faster than before, but it's still like not remotely where it's supposed to be. I cut the resolution to like a third of what it was, or a quarter, I guess. And what was the second thing I did? Sorry, I'm trying to think of like two things at once. I think, like I cut the resolution to like a third of what it was, or a quarter. Oops. The FPS was at 30, and I kind of left it at 30. I messed with some other settings. I turned the bitrate down. I don't like. I should probably research this stuff because I don't actually understand like what a bitrate is. I'm not really like an internet person. I've always made like I've never really made like I've never programmed anything that's like online in any sense. So like, you know, I understand closed systems like that, but I don't know what a bitrate is, which is kind of funny. Like I feel like if I'm a programmer, I should know what a bitrate is, but also I'm like, I guess in theory a bedroom coder. I'm seeing like screen tearing. So like that's something. I don't know. I feel bad that this is like slightly shitty. Um, I really want to like show the game. Like that's what I'm here for, but I have to like be like, "Oh no, it's not working." And then learn what a bitrate is on stream. But hopefully the game looks cool because you can do stuff like this. Yay. So yeah, there's like 36 items right now. And you basically get shit that helps you do these platforming situations. And the blood that you knock out of these dudes, it dries really quickly when it splatters. So like you have to go over and collect it before it dries, which further, like in that situation, I used the double jump to like allow myself to go kind of deep to grab it and then jump out. And like here I'm using the double jump that I got. Oh shit. And then in that situation, I just used that thing to get out of it, because otherwise I would have fallen and taken damage. Oh, also you can look at the map now. You can like make it big. And like it's more relevant when like there's map cells that are off the map, because by doing this you can see the entirety of the map, and not just like the area around where you are. But this is small. This is only 4:2. It's really small, so you can already see the whole map. This guy's an epic boss. All of the bosses are kind of like, I designed them to try to get you to move in particular ways. Except for this one, who is kind of like a fun breather boss, where it's just like, oh, it's this guy. I'm gonna like smack his head a couple times. And that's gonna do it. This is the only room that still has these guys. a lot of the rooms I've been designing have been using these crows, which, the thing I like about them is that they warp around when you hit them, so every time you clear a room with them in it, you do it a little bit differently, because they warp to a random position. Oh, this is something I haven't done yet. Items that go in that slot up there, that little box, you can only have one. And I've not made it yet so that, like, you can, swap them out. So, like, the first one you get, kinda just hold that slot forever. And if you get another one, it just goes, like, into your inventory forever and doesn't do anything. Oh, there's no items, there's just hearts. That's unfortunate. At some point, I'll make it so the shops, like, have, like, proper inventory. Oh, but here I am, like, I'm recognizing that, like, once I stop worrying about, like, the stream itself, and once I start talking about the game, I'm, like, a lot more, like, confident and, like, excited, which is nice because, you know, it's the thing I've been working on that I'm trying to show, but, like, I have obstacles in the way, and those are unfortunate. Oh, here's a new thing I added. These bouncy things. They kind of, the idea behind them is that, like, they dictate to some extent where you want to be, right? So, like, you're kind of beholden to their cycles, but, you know, if I have this double jump, it increases my freedom, right? So, like, I can go over here, and I can do that because I have the double jump. Whereas normally, I would have had to be a little more careful, and I would have had to play around the cycle of this thing. That's, like, another one of the things I've been doing to try and make platforming abilities relevant without doing the kind of ham-fisted thing I was doing before, where you just, like, had to keep up a combo, and if you touched the ground, you lost it. So you're like, okay, I gotta use all my things to keep off the ground. I didn't like it because it felt ham-fisted. Like, I didn't like dropping a combo. Like, it felt really dissatisfying. Like, maybe if I had, like, juiced it up some more, it would have been cool. But I kind of think what I'm doing now makes for a better game. To me, because it feels like the game itself, like, every part of the game justifies the existence of, like, platforming abilities, you know? Because that's, like, ultimately the challenge. Like, I don't know if I explained this, like, line of thinking the first time I streamed this game, but, like, obviously, like, the common wisdom with a platformer is that you want every level designed around the abilities of the player character, and you can't really do that in a roguelike. Like, I guess in theory you could have, like, a pool of rooms that, you know, like, it only picks rooms that are designed for, like, specific abilities. Or, you know, you could, there's, like, oh, sweet, I get to scam this because, I have mirror, which is a really strong item for this kind of room. And this item is Steel Skull, which I added a couple days ago, and I'm really excited about it. It's kind of OP, and it's gonna probably get nerfed, but you can hit your head on the ceiling to, like, deal your normal damage to everything in the room, which is extremely funny. It's way too strong. Like, it just completely trivialized that. I'm probably gonna nerf the damage of it or something. But this is a kind of item that I'm really excited about because it influences how you want to move, right? Like, most items in the game influence how you move, but this item influences, like, oh, now I want to go to the ceiling so I can bonk it and just fucking wreck house. And realistically, it should probably be more complementary to your moveset, right? So, like, instead of completely dominating, like, everything that you want to do, where it's like, it just overwrites every other objective, and it's like, okay, I'm gonna go to the ceiling now. Like, it should probably be at a point where it's, like, a little more complementary. Also, yeah, there's, like, 3 items that go in that slot there's like 36 items in the game, and I've seen like all 3 of the items that go in that slot this run. So very epic to have. Wait, did I activate that with left trigger? Oh, yeah, I did because oh, that still works? Oh my god. So, wow, I did not expect this to work. There used to be the game used to have, the idea was that every ability you got would go into one of 3 slots that you had, and they were controlled by different buttons. And I guess those buttons still work. So I can use these. That's getting removed, but I guess it's good to know that you can do that. I didn't know that until now. I was just trying to look at the map, because the map button is also the button for the 3rd ability. Okay. Very interesting. Good to know. I guess I'll use it here to, like... See, that's, like, a cool synergy in my mind. Because you know, you get the 3 bounces on the trampoline, which translates to 3... Oh, somebody even mentioned. Hi, Shaky Bone. Shaky Bone was a playtester. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. One thing that I'm actually probably gonna do that'll nerf Steel Skull as well is, recently I made it so that when you clear a room, all of the blood kind of auto-collects. And it does, like, cut down on time, like, it makes things a little faster, but I don't think I like what it does to, like... It makes me feel kind of lackadaisical about collecting blood, and I don't like that. Like, I think collecting blood was kind of supposed to be, like, part of the lifeblood of the experience. Like, it kind of keeps the pace up. It, you know, it, once again, the whole thing that I'm doing with this project, it gives relevance to the platforming abilities. And I think, like, being able to be that lackadaisical about collecting it, I don't really like that. So, like, obviously, if it dries before you finish the room, then you don't get it. But otherwise, like, you do. And it's just kind of, like, too... It makes it a little inconsequential, which I don't like. So I'm probably gonna not have that be the case in the end. But it is still the case in the current version. What was I on before I was saying that? I have no idea. I'm also, every time I try to look at the map, I'm using this trampoline. It's kind of an unusual circumstance to get all 3 of these in the same run, which is why I've never seen it before, and why I didn't know that having a 3rd ability would put it on the same button as the map. Oops. I do kind of like, I have been thinking about maybe slightly slowing down the pace of the game, because I do like when I'm streaming the game here, it's easier to make cool plays because I have the time to think about how I can use my abilities in cool ways. Like right there where I teleported next to the boss to hit it. Like, I wouldn't have thought of that in real time, I don't think. Like, I think the fact that it was slow helped me, you know, it gave me the time to think to do that. And I kind of like that. It's I guess it's the brawl philosophy. Oh yeah, I kind of forgot I could do that. Because I was talking. It's kind of like the brawl philosophy, you know, where Sakurai is like, okay, I'm gonna slow the game down so that people think about it more. Or I guess, like, in theory, also, like, just to make it, like, more casual. Which, like, you know, makes sense. I hope I don't get killed for saying that, like, brawl makes sense on stream. To be clear, it's, like, not my favorite Smash game. But maybe, I mean, I guess it has to be Ultimate, because, like, I'd probably love Melee if I got really into it. Oh, actually, there's 4 of these. I forgot I added a new one. Did I seriously get all 4? Well, this one I definitely can't use, because there were only ever 3 buttons for those. Whoops. Okay. That's kind of funny, sillies. Oh, I get so distracted. I go off on tangents, and then I have no idea what I'm saying. But yeah, I guess, like, Ultimate would have to be my favorite one, because, so I can just cheese this. And actually, that might be the only way to do it. So I'm just gonna do that. Oh, hi, Koala! It's good to see you. Oh god, yeah. I don't know how streamers do it. I can't think of, like... Wait, are there 5 of these? There's more items in this game than I think. I counted them recently and there were 36, but I think I miscounted how many, or like I didn't miscount, you know, but like I just like forgot how many, because I never counted how many active items there were, but I think I kind of forgot that there were this many. And I'm seeing all of them in the same run, which is kind of embarrassing because I really should have made it so that you can swap them out by this point. But I have not. Honestly, at some point, I kind of, like, feel like I have to figure out... I gotta crack the code on, like, making it so that... Because it's kind of a bummer if you already have an active item that you like, and you find one in an item room, and it's like, oh, I only have 1 slot for these, so this is just kind of a nothing room. I'm just gonna leave it. So I kind of want to crack the code on figuring out an elegant way to avoid that without just, like, removing active items from item rooms in general. Like, do you see how much that trivialized the blood collection? Like, I solved that room in a really, like, boring way, right? Like, I kind of just hit the ceiling a couple times, and I feel like because of that, I should get less of the blood, right? But that wasn't the case. So I think I'm gonna get rid of the auto collection, unfortunately. Looking at the map moment. Yeah, I don't have to do this. I'm gonna reset the run, because this is gonna... I could tell it was gonna run long because the combo I had was OP. So this one is mapped to, like, just the jump button. So, like, you just use this by holding the jump button, which is different from the items that you use by pressing the jump button, which is kind of a bizarre distinction. And I'm thinking about, like, separating... I don't know how to explain this without explaining, like, more of the game. But, like, I'm thinking about separating, like, some things into, like, 2 buttons. Ooh, that was cool. Like, I didn't want to get bounced into those crows, so I used the parasol to stall until the platform moved. That was cool. Like, that was just like a cool emergent property of all those mechanics coming together, which is once again what excites me about this game. Hello, you. Parasol is deceptively cool. It is really cool, honestly. It's obviously Peach's float from Mario Bros. 2. I think a lot of items are probably gonna get rethemed, by the way, just because, like, you know, not everything fits the theme I'm going for. Sometimes I'm just like, I want to have a particular mechanic in the game, and coming up with an item that suits both that mechanic in an intuitive way and the general theme of the game is kind of challenging, honestly. Like, sometimes I'll sit there for a while and be like, okay, what is this item gonna be? And a lot of the time I end up giving up and I'm like, okay, oh, it's mirror again. A lot of the time I end up giving up and just kind of making something that makes the mechanic make sense, but doesn't necessarily suit the theme of the game. And Parasol is kind of one of those. Like, it's just kind of a reference to Peach. And it also kind of, you know, you kind of roughly get the idea of, like, floating in the air through a parasol, because, you know, there's kind of the trope of, like, gliding with a parasol. So, you know, it explains the mechanic, but it doesn't suit the theme. I don't know if putting, like, skulls on the parasol is, like, really the elegant solution either. Maybe it is. I mean, maybe that would be kind of cool. Shit. I'm trying to read chat and play the game at the same time. There's also these yellow, gold-ish droplets of blood, which, sweet. I love when blood collecting like makes you enter a precarious situation like that. There's also the gold ones that randomly show up and they're worth 10 blood. Oh, here's another item that it once again like changes how you want to move rather than how you move. This one, as you can see, like puts a hitbox on my head as I'm moving up, which is fun. It's fun to hit guys with your head. This one, I think I like the balance of it, as well as a similar item that does the same thing to your feet, and lets you stomp things like your Mario. This one I like the balance of. It does double the damage of your normal attack, but obviously, like, it's only on your head, and it's, a smaller hitbox. And I should probably lower it, because I made this when the, hitbox was a little taller, and then I shortened it. And it's still, like, up there. Hopefully I didn't lose too many people to, having the stream off. But, you know, it is how it is. Also, currently there's no, like, floor-specific, like, rooms. Like, every room can appear on any floor. And that's definitely something that's gonna change. It's probably something I'm gonna focus on this week. Now that playtesting is done and I can focus on the game again. Obviously I was focused on the game during playtesting, but like, you know, focus on working on the game as opposed to watching people play it. Which, by the way, I don't know if I mentioned, but playtesting went ridiculously well. Like, a lot of people, kept playing, like, after we finished playtesting. Like, you know, we'd hang up the call, I'd be like, you know, thanks, and all that, and I wouldn't expect... Like, there was actually somebody that I thought they did not like the game at all. Like, they only played for a little bit, and, you know, they didn't sound enthused or anything. I don't think they had much to, like, say or anything, and I was like, okay, whatever, you can't get them all. But no, like, they like, rolled up to, like, the little server that I made for playtesters, and they, oh, this is a goof-ass item. Especially in combination with Parasol. But no, like, they rolled up to that server and they mentioned, like, that they were, like, still playing the game. And, like, there was something about it that they couldn't quite grok that I'm gonna try to work on. Of course. Like, there was something about it that they couldn't quite get used to, which, like, you know, I definitely want to work on making that an easier mechanic to get used to. Just, like, something in the control scheme. Like, they couldn't get used to, like, up and down attacks. I hope this is okay to say. Like, I don't know if... Like, I'm not saying who it is, so it's probably okay. Oh, Jet, especially in combination with Spike Hat, is so funny. I could take Steel Skull, but I'm totally not going to, because I already had it last run, and it kind of is, like, probably the most OP item in the game right now. I'm probably gonna set the damage to, like, something much smaller than what it is right now. Once again, I'm very happy with the damage of Spike Shoes and Spike Hat. Womp. What was I saying? I'm such a scattered person. Like, I'll be talking about one thing, and then I'll get distracted, and I'll completely forget what I was talking about. Yeah, I don't know. Good question, me. What was I talking about? I was saying, like, different floors will have different, rooms. I'm thinking, like, each floor will have kind of, like, a mechanical theme. Like, Warp Crows and Crumbling Platforms is a combination that works really well. Wow, Warp. I don't think this was, I think the last time I showed the game, this was, like, technically in the game, but I reworked it heavily to make it, like, a lot better to use. And you can do this with it. which is like super exciting to me. I've seen some playtesters oh yeah, I was talking about the playtesters. I was so happy when playtesters got this item because basically everybody had a couple moments with it where they were like, "Oh my god, the way I used that was sick." And like that makes me so happy. Like basically I just, like sent people an EXE of the game and I didn't really tell them anything and I just had them play it. And most people like understood like the flow of the game and the appeal and everything pretty well. Like, I was making them guess at the controls, which the final game probably won't even do. So a lot of people did like not figure out that they could attack for a bit, and some people didn't figure out that they could aim their attacks like up and down. But like once people understood like how to play the game, pretty much everyone got really into it, which was like super encouraging. Also, in a sense, it's intimidating because now I feel like I have something to live up to, Like, I feel like I have this thing that's cool and I don't want to ruin it, which is kind of why I'm like not gonna do further playtesting for a while because it really did like shift my mindset of how I was working on the game this like last week. Because I kept thinking like, oh, I kept thinking like either like the playtesters are gonna love this or they're gonna hate this, and I was like, I don't know if I want to think that way all the time because that kind of like, to an extent, it makes it like not mine, And of course I want, the entire purpose of playtesting is to like understand how other people experience the game, or at least that's like how I think about the purpose of playtesting. Oh, I was looking at my reflection instead of my actual self. Of course I was getting confused. That's how I think of the purpose of playtesting. Is like you want to understand how people play the game. Oh god, I cannot talk and do this at the same time. This is like not. I'll be interested to see like how streamers play this game because like I assume some people will have the same thing of like not always being able to talk and play the game at the same time because it's a lot more thinky. Well, like, it's weird to call it thinky because it's a platformer, but it is like every single run you do have to get acquainted with your move set and like use it, Because a lot of the game is designed to kind of force you to use it. So you're kind of forced to get acquainted with it, which is like there's kind of a learning curve to every run, every individual run, which is like not. I've not 100% seen that in other roguelikes. It feels like the learning curve of most roguelikes. Like, obviously, this also has that broader learning curve where you learn between runs. And obviously, like, you get an item once, and then the next time you see it, like, you have experience with it. So you're probably, like, able to use it a little more effectively. But, like, the learning curve of each individual run is, like, pretty pronounced in this game. Because like, even if you're comfortable with every individual item you have, like, the ways that they fit together to form your entire moveset is gonna be unique. And sometimes, like, you can kind of ignore certain items, like, at this point, I have a combination that, like, I have Jet, and I have, Spike Hat and Spike Boots, and those are kind of doing everything I need. And I don't have to use like wall warp or mirror. And usually I don't really need to use parasol either. It's definitely helping, but oh, this is a situation where like how could I resist using mirror though? Like there are still moments like that where even if like you've kind of forgotten about something in your kit, mirror is nice because like if I'm about to go somewhere, I notice that I look at where I'm gonna go, and if my mirror duplicate is right there, then I'm like, oh well, I'll just mirror over there, even if I've kind of like forgotten about mirror and I'm not still like processing how I can use it in terms of my overall kit. I think I once again kind of like got distracted and started talking about something different from where I started. But maybe that's okay. Maybe that's just how it is. Um, I haven't even really been using like my normal swing, which I think is kind of fun. Like I think since you have your normal swing every run, I think it's like fun to forget that you have it because it means that you're using something more unique. Oh, pizza, are you kidding me? This is a goofy ass item. I made it because I was thinking of Pac-Man and the way that Pac-Man moves in like the cardinal directions, right? And it's another thing that's like not on theme, but it vaguely describes the mechanic because obviously it's shaped like Pac-Man and you move kind of like Pac-Man. It's a goofy item. It's fun. It's weird, but it's fun. I can probably clear this. Oh, for sure. I can do it like this. Another thing that I've been thinking about, I'm really like jumping around from topic to topic here, but like as your moveset gets like stronger, and like you can go further and stuff, it gets like more and more trivial to like travel across the room, which is nice because you're using your items, of course, but past a certain point, it's like things don't like matter as much. Like that pizza that I just got is probably not going to move the needle very much because like, you know, I already have a combo that's really strong. But I'm on floor 5. And like the rooms that these are, like I'm thinking that these will end up being like floor like 3 and 4 rooms, stuff like that. Like most of the rooms that are currently in the game. So like I'm trying to think of ways to like make floor like 5 and onward um like ways to keep things relevant once you get here. Like I can cross most of the room with my current kit really easily, like the entire room. And then I can go back. Like, if I use my whole kit, well, honestly, if I have meter, I can just do that and cross the room like several times a second, but that's cool. So it's just kind of a consideration of like, I think inevitably past a certain point in any run, and I think this is kind of like a universal thing, like you can't have a move set that is like a zillion things and have it all still be like useful and relevant within the scope of a single run. Like fighting game characters have like, 10 plus, 20 plus moves, but you learn those over the course like of a long time. Like you learn when to use them, you learn like like if there's like command inputs and stuff, then like you learn how to use them and everything. Like over the course of like a ton of matches, right? You get comfortable with your character. And within the scope of a run of this game, which I'm thinking will be on average like, between 30 minutes and an hour, I just don't think there's like time to like learn an entire move set like that and make it all fit together. So like that's another like consideration with this game, right? Is I'm trying to like I want you to get enough items that you use at least most of them, and have the run go long enough that you can get comfortable with like an exciting number of items. Because I don't want to have every run have like several things that you have and you don't use, it's just like stuff to think about, that I gotta kind of balance. Let me look at the chat real quick. Oh, I love the jet sound too. It's I don't remember which one, but I just kind of used an existing sound that I had and I'm literally playing it every frame and it like actually just works. Like it sounds great. And I don't think the original sound even sounds anything like a jet. It was meant to be temp, but this could probably be final. It just works. Roguelike plus platformer requires a lot of mental attention and reaction. Yeah, I agree. What's kind of interesting though is like, so, you know, initially I was thinking like, okay, it's a roguelike, so like it'll probably like be a thing that streamers will pick up. But at this point, like, I'm not 100% sure about that. Like, some people might be able to stream it, but it does require a lot of attention. Like, maybe if you're an experienced streamer who knows how to, like, balance chat and game and everything like that, it's, like, no problem. But for me, it's, like, who doesn't usually stream, it's, like, it's hard for me to stream the game, and, like, play in cool ways, and stream at the same time. I mean, I guess I am, like, at floor 6, which is pretty far into the game, but, you know, the difficulty curve is, like, not there yet. Like, so ideally, it'll be, like, you will have to, like, pay more attention because you, like, I want you to use your items even this, like, you know, this late into the run. Because, you know, I think games are generally, like, more exciting when, like, you're using everything at your disposal and you feel cool for, like, stringing everything together and, like, making the best of your resources. Excuse me. Take me back. And, you know, that's kind of the ideal that I'm angling toward. Like, I want all of these abilities to be relevant and all of that. I feel like you could make a compilation of every time I say that. Excuse me. But yeah, so, like, what I was saying is, like, some streamers might be able to play that way. This is nice. I'm not gonna buy that because it's a weird item. And I don't know if it's, like, gonna get removed, maybe. It, makes your hitbox come out, like, at a distance from you, which is more, admittedly, like, more relevant if your hitbox isn't already detached like this and, like, homing in on things and doing this stuff. But yeah, so anyway, somebody in the, oh, you know what I should look into? I should look into fighting game streamers, because I think this game, the experience of it is probably closer to a fighting game than, like, your average roguelike. At least in terms of, like, the focus that you give it, you know, and the way that you try to string things together and all of that. So I should probably look into, like, fighting game streamers and see, like, you know, are they, like, talking and playing at the same time, or are they having moments where, like, a match gets really tense and they, like, be quiet for a second? Like, I guess speedrunners are like that. Like, when they get really focused, you know, I think generally speaking, they're not, like, looking at chat or anything. They're like, oh shit, this run is getting really tense. But of course, like, not every run of this game will be that tense, right? Like, it's not really meant to be. It's not meant to, like, be, like, the intensity of, like, almost getting a world record in a speed run the entire time, you know? Like, I don't even think fighting games are necessarily designed that way. I mean, like, maybe they are, but, like, you don't experience them that way, right? Because, like, a lot of the time you play against somebody who stomps you, or you're stomping them, you know? And at that point, it's, like, not that tense for either of you, because one of you kind of know you're losing and the other one knows they're winning. Like, it's really only, like, tense if you're up against, like, a well-matched opponent, you know? And this game, like, similarly, because of the luck of the draw, not every run is necessarily going to be, like, super tense. But I do want there to be those tense runs, right? Where, like, your tools are just about good enough to, like, make do, and you're really trying to make it happen, you know? So yeah, I don't know. There's a lot I'm kind of balancing in my head, I guess. Oh, sweet. Oh, I felt cool for doing that. Koala says, I only watch Hades, but it seems like the upgrades do force you to shake up how you approach rooms in ways that I think Spelunky doesn't. Do these floor crawling enemies work like Gabules from Mega Man? Work like what? What is that word? Is that a typo? I don't know what that is. I think Biss did say that they were like something in Mega Man. The floor, they move along platforms and move faster when you're on their platform. Yeah, they work similar to that. They're named after the stretch boos from Mario, but their behavior comes from The End Is Nigh, which is they're really called, I don't even know how to pronounce that. Gabual? Is that like a yokai or something? But yeah, it's they're based on their behavior I kind of stole from The End Is Nigh, which is a game by Edmund Macmillan, which is better than Super Meat Boy in my opinion. Like, it's another platformer that's like structured similar to Meat Boy, but like I prefer it. And it's got it has a lot of rooms that like I found inspiring for this game because they have kind of a dynamicness to them. Like, you end up going around and like hitting different targets in whatever order you see fit, and there's like dynamic hazards chasing you. And like, adding texture and flavor to challenge to like different parts of the room. And I was really inspired by that when I threw out the combo system, because I wasn't satisfied with the combo system, and like I was kind of looking at different games, and I was playing End Is Nigh, and I was playing like Celeste and V and like Spelunky and stuff like that, and just trying to like get a sense of how they do their things. And I was just really like drawn to how End Is Nigh was doing these like really dynamic rooms with different stuff going on. You can also, by the way, use these machines to shuffle the order of the items on your chain. So now the smoke bomb comes up first, followed by wall warp, and then the pizza. Unlike the little white slimes, they can only be killed by thunder beam. Oh. So they're like little Roomba bots. Oh, I think I remember those guys from like Mega Man 1. I tried to play Mega Man 1 once, like a few years ago, and I just could not get into it. Like, every single stage was like so obtuse right from the get-go, and I was like, damn, there's not a single stage I can play where I feel like I'm like getting into the game and getting comfortable with it. Yeah, I remember those guys. They're kind of nasty in that game. I should check that out again and try to remember like why they're nasty. Because some people don't like my little platform ghosty guys. But I think for some people it's because they're not visible enough. I did like make them a little more visible. So maybe it's less a problem with like their mechanical design and just like a visibility issue. So I don't know. Also, like, just because somebody doesn't like something doesn't mean I'm gonna take it out. Because honestly, if I like something, that matters a lot to me. And I think, like, games having things that you don't like in them is kind of like, it adds texture, you know? But obviously, if it's a case of, like, a visibility problem, then I do want to fix that. But, you know. Damn, I am really talking about so many things at once. I probably could have just, like, stomped that guy without going all the way over to this platform. But, you know, it is what it is. I'm once again getting really far into the game, but it feels honest this time. Like, I don't feel like I have a busted build. But also, it was pretty easy, and I do kind of want the game to be harder. But then again, like, I am the dev, and most people don't get this far. I don't know. I want to start easier and get harder, basically, over the course of a run. Which is like the least shocking thing I think anyone has ever said. Up we go. Yeah, I don't know what I was talking about, but I feel like I was really into talking about it. Like, I think it was something that really excited me and got my gears whirring, so to speak. Yeah, I don't know. Oh, yeah. I think I was gonna explain, like, why I have these enemies that you can't kill. And it's because, like, I think it really is, like, if you don't like those, you can blame The End Is Nigh if you like. Because, playing the game, I really, like, was seeing the difference between, like, okay, so there's, like, targets, which are things you're, like, trying to get to, you know, in theory. Like, I'm kind of abstracting the mechanics here, but, this is a fun item, by the way. The faster you're moving, the higher your damage. So if you have anything that can make you go fast, then, like, you can really deal some serious damage. Once again, another item that affects how you want to move rather than how you are moving, which, like, I think is sick. So yeah, I was really just, like, thinking about the difference between, like, things that you're going after and things that you're avoiding, you know? And, like, if you could, like, with certain enemies, like, the guys that guard platforms, like, their job is to guard that platform, you know? Like, their job is to make the experience of being on that platform unpleasant so that you want to go into the air and, like, start using your cool aerial abilities, you know? And, like, that's their job. Like, their job isn't to get killed, right? Because if I kill them, then it's like, okay, suddenly this platform has gone from, like, a spot that I'm using to get around to, like, a destination that I have to go to, right? Like, now I have to go here and kill this guy. And if there's a lot of platforms, then I have to kill all of them. And also, like, if you can kill them, then they're not doing their job anymore. And, like, maybe that's okay, but, like, they are there to get you not to be on the platform forever, right? You know, they're there to keep you moving, which is, like, exciting to me. So yeah, like, that's kind of the thinking behind them not being killable, you know? It's like, they have a job to do, and, like, I don't want to force you to go to visit them. Like, I want them to do the thing that they're supposed to do. And they're gonna do it, you know? And you're not gonna kill them and make them no longer do the thing that they're supposed to do. And that's, like, that's the thinking, you know? So they're, like, they're ghosts. That's kind of the visual language here, where it's like, you know, you can't hit a ghost. Your attack will pass straight through. No hitting ghosts allowed in my home. So I don't know. I think some people are not, like, a big fan of that because it's like, you know, there's an enemy and you want to hit it because that's kind of what the game is in a sense. And I think just, like, in most games, if there's an enemy, you want to kill it. So I don't know. Maybe they could be, like, not even alive, like, in any sense. Like, maybe they could be, like, instead of ghosts, it could be, like, something mechanical, which wouldn't really be on theme. But, like, I don't know. I don't know. Like, I think the visual language of ghosts is probably good. But, like, I guess, I don't know, if I ever think of anything better, I mean, I don't know, maybe, like, medieval type tech, like, torture device type stuff. Maybe that would be a little more on theme? I don't know. Once again, I think I've gotten far away from the existence of the difficulty curve right now, so I think I'm just gonna reset. Also, it's wild to me that we're at, like, 50 minutes, like, we're almost at an hour. So I guess I'll probably cut it soon. Here's an item that just gives pure speed. It does kind of reset your vertical velocity as well, so, like, you can use it in some sense for like vertical type stuff. I guess it kind of occupies a similar role to Parasol, but it's like you have this burst of speed that you're forced to like use, and also like you don't get the same amount of airtime with it. I don't know, I just kind of realized that like they kind of play similar roles but in very different ways. Oh man, what was I saying? I never know what I'm saying. Blood, please. Thank you. Oh yeah, that's an interaction between these that I love. Like being able to dive into those, and wow, the frame rate is getting especially terrible. What's happening? Being able to like dive into these and like carry the speed forward. Oh, that was sick. That felt awesome. Let me get that. Like Haley's dive without the wall bonk. Yeah, but Haley's dive is also in the game. There's a bumpity item. And maybe I'll find it on stream. And it does have the wall bonk and everything. But it is more like rigid. Like this one just sets your speed and leaves it. Haley's dive, like, you know, you're moving at that straight, like you're moving straight the entire time. Like this one has a curve to it, you know what I'm saying? Like gravity starts applying immediately and all that. Ooh. Yes. Big moments for me. Rapid swing used to be a little more relevant, but then I increased the rate that you could swing at just in general. I don't know how I feel about that change. Like, I might revert it because, like, being able to swing kind of slower is kind of, like, it restricts, like, how much you can churn through things and kind of, like, forces you to move and reposition before attacking again, which is maybe, like, cool. Of course, warp crows kind of, like, you know, they warp away, so, like, being able to attack twice wouldn't really do anything anyway. But, you know, I'll figure it out. Probably once there's more enemies, like ones that don't warp around like that, like I'll reconsider what I've done with the speed that you can attack at. And once again, the things that I'm saying are so scattered. They're, like, all over the place. I don't know. I'm very, like, I guess I'm being conscious of, like, how I'm speaking and everything, like, on stream. Like, I'm conscious of, like, the topics and, like, how much I'm switching. But maybe I don't really need to be. Like, maybe I can just be, like, more natural about it. I don't know. I think it's kind of my, nature to be, I guess, I don't know. Like, I guess a little, like, I'm trying to, like, analyze it. I'm trying to, like, understand how I stream, because it's, like, a new skill. But I guess I do that with any skill, even if, like, I'm not necessarily new to it. So I don't know, I guess I just have this inclination to, like, try to understand, like, how I'm streaming, but I don't know, maybe it makes for a weird stream. Well, now I'm, like, meta-analyzing it, I guess. Which is kind of weird. I don't know. Like, I guess what I'm saying is I probably don't need to be self-conscious. Because it's like, you know, I'm showing a game, I'm talking about shit. I don't get points for, being coherent, I guess? Well, I mean, I do want to be coherent. But I don't think I need to win points for, Ooh, it felt cool to be able to do that without having to, like, rely on the cycle of the platform. Oh! I forgot that I didn't have Spike Hat anymore. That's another thing about this game. Like, your habits and your muscle memory kind of get tuned to whatever build you have. And then you die and you lose it and you start again. And sometimes I feel like I have to, like, dispel those habits and muscle memory, because it's like, oh, I built up all that stuff, like, with the build that I had, but now it's, like, on, you know? I don't know, it's just really interesting. I think, like, the more I make this, like, in my mind, I'm just mashing together, like, Binding of Isaac and Hollow Knight, right? But the product is, like, extremely, like, it feels extremely different from both of those things. Which I think is, like, the mark of being onto something new, you know? Which is, like, super exciting to me. Like, it has, like, different strengths and weaknesses from those things. Like, you know, it might not be quite as good a stream game because, like, you have to pay more attention. But also, the fact that you have to pay more attention is exciting, and it kind of gives it this almost fighting game-esque appeal. And, like, maybe it's weird to say that it's fighting game-esque, but it's just, like, that's what I compare it to in my head, like, in terms of, like, the way it feels to play and the way it feels to pull things off and, like, experience it, you know? Like, it feels like you're doing things on the fly, which is exciting. How do I think about stuff like that? Not sure I could think of stuff like the player developing a muscle memory for the game mechanics. I don't know. I think, like, I've been thinking about, there's this, framework for thinking about games called mechanics, dynamics, aesthetics, which is basically, like, mechanics are, like, obviously, you know, the mechanics of the game, like, you know, the abilities that you have and the way that things work and all that. I think you know that. I think probably most people know that. I don't know. Maybe it's like that one XKCD comic where people are overestimating how much people know. But I don't know, you probably know that. And then there's dynamics, right? Which are like the things that you do that arise from those mechanics. So like if the mechanic of this room is like you destroy the eyes and it opens the door so that you can leave, and I have like mechanics of like, you know, jumping and hitting and like using these items and stuff, then the way that those mechanics come together to create me moving around the room and hitting those things, that's like the dynamics, you know? Like the dynamic of those mechanics coming together results in like me moving around the room and hitting things. And then the aesthetics are like kind of like the way that that experience feels to the player, you know? It's like the vibe that results from those dynamics. So it's like, you know, mechanics create dynamics, dynamics create aesthetics in a sense. Somebody probably who like understands this way better than me could like probably explain it in a way that is like, I don't know, better. But it's just like how it makes sense in my head. Um, my rough understanding of this, like, I think sort of academic thing, just kind of the way that I understand it, roughly speaking. And I think like the more you make games, the more you kind of understand dynamics and aesthetics. Um, or is like I don't know, maybe playing games more like helps that too. Honestly, like making and playing games, because like it's easy to understand mechanics, you know, because it's like there are mechanics that I think are cool, and like there are mechanics that I think are like uh you know uh like there are just mechanics that I really like, right? So like it's easy to see that. You know, like you press A and Mario jumps, like I think everyone understands that. And also I think like everybody understands obviously like aesthetics, like cuz it's, you know, it's all like feelings and like experiences and like how things are experientially. Um and like obviously also everybody understands dynamics, you know, like everybody understands that like you jump on the turtle in Mario um you know to kill it, and then you kick it, you kick the shell and it, I said turtle but it is a Koopa. You know, you jump on the Koopa, you kick the shell, you do all that shit. And like, you know, I guess what I'm saying is I think everybody understands those things, but like being able to like synthesize the interplay between them, I think is where game design is. Like And I think just like the more you make games and the more you play them and the more you think about them, like the more you can influence the way that these things like interplay, and the more you understand like what kind of mechanics you can use to create which dynamics, and like, you know, understanding like the aesthetic experience that you want to create, and then finding ways to create dynamics that finding ways to like lead to dynamics that create that aesthetic, you know? Um and just like, I guess in a general sense, understanding aesthetics on a deeper level, cuz I would think of this is getting really heady. uh but like, this isn't, by the way, I'm not thinking about stuff in these terms all the time. I think I'm putting them into words in this way because I think it makes sense to put them into words this way. But like, I think after just making games for a while and like playing them and like thinking about them, like these things are like just kind of like natural in a sense. Um, so I'm not getting sweaty like, you know, scribbling in a notebook like, oh, here's the exact dynamic I want. What fucking mechanics am I gonna be doing today? You know, it's not really like that. It's just kind of like, I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying. But anyway, like, I do think like over time you kind of get a better understanding of all of those things and the interplay between them. Like, like aesthetically, I want players to like feel cool using like different abilities that they get, right? I want you to kind of like learn on the fly like different things and like synthesize them in cool ways, cuz like I really like the aesthetic experience of like the Binding of Isaac, right? Where like you get an item and it's like really exciting because it changes the way that you do things, the way that you make decisions, like the ways that you play and all of that stuff. And I wanted to kind of bring that to platforming, you know, because I've never really seen that in platforming, at least not on a large scale. Like Spelunky kind of has it because like it has a few platforming abilities, and also it is kind of rich in the sense that like platforming is woven into this complex kind of world, you know, where like different things happen and you platforming is kind of a part of that. Um but I wanted to have something with like lots of different platforming abilities that all kind of like, you know, you throw them into a blender and the player's move set itself is kind of like the star of the show, and it creates that kind of experience where you're reacting to like how things are random and you're kind of making the best of the tools that you have. Um so yeah, like that's kind of like the aesthetic I'm trying to create, but I guess part of that is mechanics, right? Because I was saying like I wanted to have this aesthetic experience of using all these different tools. Um but I also wanted to use platforming mechanics. Um so I don't know. I'm not really I wasn't thinking about it in these terms until literally just now, but like I guess, did you make an arcade style game about a bird? I did. Yeah. Um It's I'm really proud of it still. You should play it if you haven't. It's $1. It's called Pyo on itch. Um what was I saying? I don't know what the hell I was saying. I don't know. I probably sound like a big turbo nerd. I am kind of a nerd, but like I think it is just like a thing that you get a sense for. But yeah, I guess so, like now that I think of it, I had an aesthetic experience that I wanted and I had mechanics that I wanted. And I guess a lot of like early development for this game has kind of been like trying to tailor the dynamics toward those two things, which, you know, influence you can't create aesthetics or dynamics directly, you know? Like in some sense, like aesthetics are influenced by like art and like music and sound and all of that. But like you can't create aesthetics and dynamics directly quite in the same way that you can mechanics, right? Like I programmed these mechanics into the game. You know, all of the mechanics in the game were programmed by me. But the dynamics were not, you know, they're just kind of a result of the mechanics that I programmed. So like you like I couldn't directly create those, and I had to understand how I could create mechanics that created dynamics that would bring out the aesthetic that I wanted. Once again, I was not thinking about it in these terms. Like, I'm not that much of a turbo nerd. Maybe if I were a bigger turbo nerd, I would be. But I'm just kind of now retroactively understanding, like, it through this framework. I don't know. I feel like I must sound, I really don't want to come off as, like, what's the word? Like, you know, it's kind of like you're trying to, like, sound smarter than you are. Because I don't think I'm actually, like, I don't think I have, like, the secret to anything. I think, like, I've just kind of done this for a while, so, like, I've kind of gained the ability to, get where I'm trying to go with a game by controlling the things that I can control, which are the mechanics, if that makes sense. Because, like, the dynamics obviously changed a lot, because the combo system was originally supposed to create this dynamic where you're, you know, jumping around and using your items and trying to avoid the ground. Which was the dynamic I wanted because I thought it would bring out that aesthetic of using all these things and feeling cool and doing stuff on the fly and getting familiar with a randomly created platforming toolkit, right? But I didn't really like it. Like, I didn't like the aesthetic that arose from those dynamics. Like, it wasn't quite what I wanted. You did get that, but it was also really satisfying, like, dissatisfying to drop a combo. And there was just a lot of stuff I didn't really like about it. And also, Biss didn't like it. My friend Biss, who also makes games, didn't really like it. And, like, that wasn't, like, the biggest influence on me getting rid of it, because ultimately, if I had really liked it, I would have kept it, but it kind of showed me that, you know, I wasn't that enthused about it, and, like, Biss didn't really like it either, and I was like, okay, I'm not really satisfied with this. So I ended up changing the mechanics to create roughly similar dynamics, where, like, a lot of the game still does want you to stay off the ground, but it's done a little more organically. Where, like, it's in the enemy design, it's in the room design. Like, there's these spikes now on the floor, which, you know, kind of replaced the role that the combo system was playing in trying to keep you off the floor. But now, like, you know, there's a difference. Like, you can land on platforms and it's not dropping a combo or anything. So it's a little less sweaty. Like, it's less like you're trying to, like, constantly maximize everything. The blood kind of brings in this experience of maximizing things, but it doesn't feel so bad to miss blood. Like, if I leave that blood up there and it dries, like, you know, it's not the end of the world. I have like 800 of them. Every individual droplet is not a huge deal. But dropping a combo always feels like a huge deal, in my opinion. Even if it was a small combo. So it kind of, like, you know, it's just kind of this, like, dissatisfying experience. You know, I always feel like when I'm talking, I'm, like, really scattered and I don't make any sense. But maybe if I don't think like that all the time, then, like, maybe it actually does make sense. I'll listen to myself back and see if I'm, like, making sense to myself for whatever that ends up being worth. Oh, Maybe I need to tweak the wall jump coyote frames because that felt wrong. Like I should not have gotten a wall jump off that far away. Oh wow, I am deep in like thinking about some random crap right now. Where the hell was I? I think that's the theme of this stream, is not knowing what I was talking about 3 seconds ago. But yeah, it was like, you know, the thing that I was saying. I don't know. That's probably all that I have to say about that, I guess. Oh, I was talking about blood collection. Yeah, it's like, in my mind, it's kind of a replacement for the combo system in the same way that, like, the new room designs are. Because, you know, the room designs play that role of kind of keeping you in the air a lot of the time. Like, you know, you want to step on these platforms as little as possible because they're your only platforms. And the blood collection plays the role of getting you to move around a lot, which, oh yeah, that reminds me of the other thing I didn't like about the combo system was that you didn't have to move around a lot, which is not exciting at all. Like, you know, you just stay in one place, and like maybe you use your abilities to like sustain the one place that you're in. You just kind of let everyone come to you. And, you know, that has been also partially resolved via, like, warp crows teleporting around and having these eyes that are stationary. And I'm sure in the future it will have more enemies that, like, don't just come straight toward you. So it'll kind of, like, you know, you'll be forced to move around in that sense, too. But yeah, so like kind of every problem that I didn't like about the combo system, I've kind of addressed in different ways with room designs and like blood collection, and all of that stuff. You know, so it's like it's very iterative, you know? It's like I was trying different things. I didn't like how a thing worked. Now I'm doing something else that I like a lot better. So it's not even a thing where, like, I can sit down and, like, put down on paper, like, exactly something that's gonna be something that I like when I do it, you know? I can make something and be like, oh, this kind of sucks, actually. And then it's like, okay, back to the drawing board. Let's try something new. And I like the new thing that I tried a lot more. So, you know, it's not even always so much of a turbo nerd thing of planning things out perfectly as it is, like, trying things out, seeing what works. That's kind of like the prolonged arc of like game development, right? Is just trying stuff and seeing what works. And I think that's like part of the value of making games for a long time is like, you know, you have kind of that intuitive understanding of what has worked and what hasn't, you know? Of course, like, and like, you know, there's also still stuff that I don't think works, but it's like, stuff that I'm obviously going to change. Like, obviously the difficulty curve doesn't work because it's not really a part of the game yet. Like, every floor has the same rooms. Like, floors are different sizes, which does influence the difficulty curve a little, but not really. That's kind of a thing that comes in, I think, a lot later in development in general, is just like a difficulty curve. You know, I feel like that's the kind of thing you just tweak over time and you get there eventually. Oh man, though. I feel like I want to cut it soon. Because I've shown, like, I think most of what exists. Obviously, there's plenty of items, I think, that haven't showed up because of luck of the draw. But, you know, I've shown the gist of the game as it exists right now, and that's, like, the goal of these streams. Yeah, I don't know what I was saying. I haven't used this ability yet, by the way. You use it to, like, freeze in place for a bit and heal. I might have actually shown that last month. I don't know. Did I turn on the commands? Oh, I didn't turn them back on yet. I turned them off for playtesters. There's like a bunch of debug keys that I could use to like show things, but like they are not currently functional. Because I turned them off, and I haven't turned them back on yet. Because it's been kind of a slow day. Like I've been coming out of a week of playtesting and realizing that like, oh, I gotta fix that where it can like triple tap them like that. You know, it's been kind of a slow week so far. I mean, it's just Monday. Like I haven't done much on the project today. I've kind of been coming out of the mindset that I was in during playtesting week, you know, where I was just like thinking about things in terms of like what are the playtesters gonna respond to, and like how are they gonna respond to it. I think pretty much all my ideas for games are way bigger than my skill level. Yeah, I think that's a thing that's easy, especially when you're starting out. It's hard to... I don't know how to explain this, but like scope, I think... Like, obviously as a kid, like, when I was a kid, I really wanted to make a game where you were like bugs, right? And like, I wanted the world to just feel infinite, right? Like, I just wanted to explore like a whole ass world as a bug, because I really wanted to be like small and see the world from the perspective of a bug. So that's what I wanted to make, right? And I wanted it to be multiplayer, you know, because I wanted to do that with friends. Like, I wanted to see the world from the perspective of a bug and with friends. And I guess, like, as an adult, I can look at that and say, okay, I had an aesthetic I was trying to create. So I guess in theory I was coming up with mechanics for that. And maybe I was even thinking of, like, dynamics. Because, like, I wanted to have, like... For some reason, I wanted, like, every animal you could play as to have a habitat. Because eventually, I was probably, like, 7 or, like, 9 years old or something. I don't know. And I wanted, like... You know, this big 3D world you would explore as bugs, but then I was like, well, it would be cool if you could be other animals. So I was like, okay, what if you're a bear? You would probably live in a cave, right? But then I was like, oh, well, you know, I also want to have this thing where, like, you can't go into another creature's home. I don't know why I wanted that, but, like, you know, a larger creature couldn't get into an anthill, and I was really obsessed with ants as a kid. So I guess, like, I just wanted it to be congruent or something. So I was like, okay, well, I guess an ant shouldn't be able to go into a cave, because that's the bear's home. I don't know what I'm getting at. But anyway, like, it was super overscoped in my head, obviously, like, because I was, like, 9 years old, and I hadn't made any games yet. And I was just thinking about, like, what I would want and what I think would be cool. But I think becoming a huge fucking nerd about game mechanics has kind of become, like, this anti-scope thing. Which is kind of silly because, you know, I want this game to be huge. Like, some things haven't changed. Like, I wanted the Ant game to feel huge. And I want this game to feel huge. But, like, a lot of the hugeness, I think, comes from the, like, randomness, right? Like, I make rooms, and then it generates big maps for me, right? And in theory, I've made more rooms than there are in the map, so, like, I'm still developing a lot of, like, content, but it just, like, feels bigger than it is, if that makes sense, because of the randomness. And so I guess, like, you get that same feeling that I was trying to create, that I was trying to come up with as a kid, where it's like, you know, you're a little ant exploring a big world, except, like, it's, like, something I can do now. But it's not necessarily because I wanted to do that, but thought of, like, downscoping. It's because, like, I'm just a nerd about like 2D games and like mechanics and stuff like that. Like, you know, when I was a kid, I played a lot of games with like big 3D worlds, but now I play a lot of Binding of Isaac, which is like a lot more about its mechanics, you know? Like it has its way of feeling big. Um but it's also like a very mechanical experience. Like, I don't know, the older I get and the more I become kind of a nerd about this stuff, like, the more I'm excited just by like mechanics. You know, like you can excite me by having a game with mechanics that I find interesting, and it doesn't even have to be like big. You know, it can be a small game, but if I'm a nerd about the mechanics, I'm there. You know, it's exciting to me. Um And I don't know, like, I guess aesthetically speaking, I guess that's kind of been like the antidote to the desire to make big 3D open world games in a sense, because a lot of the mechanics that excite me now are in these 2D planes because, like, I guess because 2D planes are like, I don't even know if this makes any sense at all, but like, well, I guess 2D planes are like easier to think about, so it's like easier to design and like I don't know. Like I guess I just like 2D games a lot more now than I did as a kid because I guess I am less I guess I need like I'm thinking about this as I'm saying it, but like I guess I need less lifting from the game to create like an aesthetic experience? I don't know if that makes any sense. I think I'm just trying to explain that when I was a kid, I was more excited by like worlds and like just the raw aesthetic experience of like being in a world and exploring it. And now that I'm an adult, I'm more interested in exploring mechanics. And I don't know if that's like a getting older and becoming an adult thing, or if it's like just a me thing, or like a being a weird nerd thing, or if it's like a thing that comes with making games. Because actually, like the first couple games I made were like they were called like Groundy and Skya, and they were these little scratch games where like you would explore a tiny world. Like that was the idea that I was trying to create. But I wasn't trying to create a tiny world, I was just trying to create any world I could, and they ended up being tiny because, you know, I was a kid and that was like what I could do. um but I don't know, like on Little Big Planet, I would make the worlds as big as I could because I wanted to explore and create a big world. And I would put like all kinds of different things in them, and I would just kind of like explore what was possible, and just end up with a world with like a bunch of random crap in it. That was kind of fun to like play around with because it would end up with like basically these goofy toys in it and all that stuff. I'm really like rambling. But I guess what I'm saying is like the more you make games, maybe you end up less wanting to make those big open world games. I think maybe in part because like as a developer, I'm like, okay, that's been done. Like, maybe it's weird to say that like open world games are like, because I'm not saying they're all the same necessarily. You're giving me a lot to think about. I think I'm like in one of those modes where I'm kind of processing new things and like thinking about new things. So I'm like really excited about thinking about this stuff. But I'm also kind of on the edge of like coming to an understanding of what I actually think about it. So it's kind of like this weird winding process that I guess you're all experiencing. But I don't know, like maybe some people like as they go they want to make more like bigger like open worlds and stuff, and like you know, higher fidelity graphics and like 3D shit. I don't really know. Like I'm just talking about my arc as a developer, and then like other people probably have very different experiences But I guess it's just like, as I go, I get more and more excited by like the specificity of certain things. Like, I'm like, okay, you know, this is a 2D platformer, but it's doing new things with 2D platforming. Like, I get really excited. I love platformers, right? And I get really excited about the idea of doing new things with them. And I feel like I'm doing something new with a platformer, so like that's exciting to me. And as a kid, like I wasn't thinking like, you know, all of these platformers have you going from like A to B in a very like kind of predictable fashion. I wasn't thinking like that. I was thinking I want to go explore Delfino Plaza. I want to go to fucking Sandy's house and like wish that I could climb the tree and like go inside Sandy's house. Like you can do that in Revenge of the Flying Dutchman. Why can't you do it in Battle for Bikini Bottom? um, that's what I was thinking, you know. And platforming was kind of just the vehicle, to that. And it was like this nice vehicle that feels satisfying to do on its own. So it's like, it accentuates my desire to go inside Sandy's treehouse. But it's like not the star of the show. But like I guess now that I'm an adult it is, because like I've already been to Sandy's treehouse in Revenge of the Flying Dutchman, and it's fine. And it's also kind of like aesthetically similar to the inside of the tree in Click Clock Wood in Banjo-Kazooie. And maybe I've been inside enough trees to the point where every tree feels the same, but the things you're doing inside the tree can be very different, and that's exciting in some way. Like, I don't know, like, maybe to a point, what I'm saying is I think I get kind of, like, mechanics vision. Like, I think with any game, you kind of get, like, mechanics vision after you play it enough, where, like, you stop seeing the aesthetic experience of it, and you just start seeing, like, it from a mechanical and maybe dynamic, well, like, definitely dynamic perspective, right? Like, you know, I play enough Binding of Isaac, and the poop stops looking like poop. You know, I stop being like, ah, nasty, it's poop and blood and piss everywhere. Like, you know, it kind of, like, the aesthetic of that kind of drops away, but, like, the game continues to get more rich and deep. Because my understanding of the mechanics and everything gets deeper as I go, you know, like my understanding of the mechanics, my ability to influence the dynamics, all of that stuff, like that deepens. And I guess you could say to some sense, like, I learn more about the lore of the game, right? And, like, I think about it more to some extent. So you could say that that deepens in some way, but, like, not in the same way. You know, like, your reaction to the visceral experience of it reduces. And I guess maybe I have that arc over time as a human. Like, you know, when you're a kid, lights and sounds are exciting. It's like, wait, am I calling you a kid for wanting to make an open world game? That's not what I'm trying to do. I like, obviously adults want to make open world games, and I don't think it makes them immature. Like, I don't think that's what I'm trying to say. I think what I'm saying is like, I don't know, I guess you get mechanics vision over time, like as an adult, because obviously as a kid, like lights and sounds are exciting, because like, I don't know, when I was a kid I had these like rings, and you could like stack them and like organize them, and I was like, oh, I want to stack them in the right order. And learning about stacking and ordering things was like exciting to me because I was like 3 years old or something. um and then like the sensation of that, I guess, naturally gets less exciting as I get older. But it gets replaced by an excitement about things like the way that the mechanics in my roguelike are combining, you know? Um, Nas cool. Honestly, that's probably not the only thing you might call me a kid for. I'm not, though, just so we're on the same page. Yeah, and also, like, I don't think it's an insult to, like, I still like to collect physicals of games for childhood consoles. Yeah, I like cartoons. Like, I watch SpongeBob. sometimes. I honestly kind of haven't watched it in a couple years, and I like want to watch it again. And like I love Clarence. If you've ever seen it, it's like literally my favorite show because it's really fucking sweet and cute and funny and wholesome. Oh, did I just say wholesome? That's a word I haven't thought of in a while. I feel like it has a certain connotation that I wasn't necessarily trying to bring out. But yeah, like I don't know. And obviously, I guess like video games are generally something that are associated with kids. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's an insult to say that something is like childlike. But like I don't know if this is just me either, but like when I was a kid, Outset Island in Wind Waker was enough to like sustain me in entertainment for like months. Cuz I would pretend that like the rock, like I would pick up a rock from the island and I would pretend it was my pet Rocky, right? And I would like sometimes I would pretend he was sick and I would take him to like the big rock on top of the island and I would put him on there and I would be like, "Rocky, you're sick. I'm going to go get you a purple popsicle so that you feel better." Because I don't know why, but as a kid I thought that like a purple popsicle, that was what you had when you were sick. Maybe my mom would give me those or something. I don't really remember. But that's what I would do, you know, and I would do that over and over. Like, I would take care of my pet friend Rocky on Outset Island, and every time I would, like, explore enough to progress the game and go to, like, the Forsaken Fortress where everything's scary and, like, there's these guys around that are trying to fucking kill me, like, I didn't want to do that. It was hard, it was scary, it was difficult. I wanted to go back to Outset Island and take care of Rocky. You know? And like as an adult, I don't even like Wind Waker anymore because I think it's like among the 3D Zeldas, it's one of the weaker ones because I'm experiencing it completely differently. Like I'm just not hanging out on Outset Island taking care of Rocky anymore. Like I'm playing the game the way it was meant to be played, which as an adult is like less compelling to me than hanging out on Outset Island with Rocky was when I was a kid. Like I'm just playing completely different games. And I don't know, I guess maybe I think the shelf life of that is like longer. Like maybe as you grow older, it's like open world games start to feel more like, I mean, I really like Breath of the Wild and like Tears of the Kingdom. And like as you play more games too. Like I'm talking about it as if it's a function of growing older, but I think it's in part that, and it's in part it's like playing more games and making more games. Cause like if you're new to that stuff, then like hanging out on Outset Island with Rocky is probably the most exciting part of it because you like you know, cause like everybody loves Breath of the Wild because you get to explore this big world and it's like reactive and it's got stuff going on and it feels like this big adventure. And I love Breath of the Wild too, but there are things about it where I'm like, it sucks that like it has all these mechanics that you can make use of, but like realistically speaking, you really don't need to. Like I don't need to cut it down a tree and have it roll onto this guy because like I can just hit him with my weapon and it'll do the job just as well and he'll drop another weapon for me to use. You know, like I think when you're like I think like when you're new to it or if you're a kid or something, like you're not really thinking about that. Like when I was a kid, I would have just cut the tree down on the guy, but now I'm like, I don't need to. It's faster to just hit him with my sword. But like cutting the tree down is more fun. But like I don't know. I guess the like older I get and the more games I play, the more practical I am about things in ways that kind of like are sometimes a detriment to the experience the designer is trying to create. Because they made a game where you're supposed to cut the tree down on the guy, and all I'm doing is hitting him with the sword. And I only cut the tree down on him if I really need to, which is almost never because the game isn't that hard and it doesn't really like. Sure, it has the durability system, but it's like. People see, like, that's the difference, right? Is like people are like, the durability system is trash. I hate running out of weapons, and I'm like, what do you mean running out of weapons? Like, they replenish, and then you're fine. Like, you get more, and you never really run out. Like, I don't know. People are like, you get a big weapon, but, like, you don't get to keep it. It does big damage, and you don't get to keep it. And I'm like, well, yeah, I'm glad I don't get to keep it, because, like, it's more power, which would even further obsolete cutting down the tree on the guy. And, like, I think the way that I think about it, like, I guess because I make games and I think maybe more deeply about some games than you're supposed to because I make them and because it's kind of like my special interest, it dampens certain things, you know? Like the cooking system in Breath of the Wild. Aesthetically, it's really entertaining if you like, it's a nice part of the aesthetic where it's like, you're in the wild, you're collecting shit, you're cooking it. But for me as a player, like, I guess that aesthetic aspect of it wears off kind of fast. And then all that's left is this thing where, like, oh, I get hardy truffles whenever I see them, and I get like radishes whenever I see them, and I put them in this thing, and it takes a while because I'm throwing in one at a time because that's the most efficient way to do it. And it just becomes this well-oiled, greased-up, efficient machine where all I do is throw my hardy radishes into this pot, and it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think the game was designed for me, for that kind of person that, like, greases up the machine and oils it like that and sucks all the fun out of it that way. Um, and when I play those games, I do try to, like, take that mindset. Like, I really enjoy Animal Crossing, right? Which is, like, all aesthetic. Um, it's all this aesthetic experience of, like, living in a little town and, like, building it up in New Leaf and New Horizons and, like, chatting with your neighbors and stuff. And I do really enjoy that. So, like, I'm not saying I can't enjoy the aesthetics of an experience. And I have played, like, a lot of Animal Crossing, so, like, maybe you can say that that doesn't even have, like, that much of a shelf life. But I don't know. Once again, I'm kind of processing this stuff as I'm talking about it, so it might not be 100% coherent. um, but, like, I think once I get to that point, I don't want to make an open world game, right? Because the aesthetic, I understand it as having that shelf life, you know? And, like, I, as the developer, that's not, like, exciting for me because I know what's over that hill. I know what's in that dungeon. It's like, I've already explored this world. I kind of had to create it, right? So it's like, a lot of the magic of exploring it exists in my head before I make it, because it's like, oh, wouldn't it be so cool if, like, XYZ, and also it doesn't exist yet. So, like, the mystery is kind of in my head, It's like, what is in that dungeon? I don't know. It kind of feels like playing the game to think about it, because in the game, as a player, I would be wondering, like, what's in that dungeon? I don't know, let's find out. And as a developer, I haven't made the dungeon yet. Like, I haven't thought about it. So it's like, okay, it's like an interesting, exciting thing to wonder, like, what's gonna be in that dungeon. Um, but the process of making it, I don't think would be as compelling as the process of making something like this, where, like, the mechanics are kind of, like, more at the forefront and the aesthetics are a little further back. Because as a developer, I'm making mechanics and that's exciting to me, and I like the experience of, like, making, if I can get to the ceiling here to show what this does, of making this item where you can hang onto the ceiling. Like, that's exciting to me still, like, so many years into doing this. And I think, like, I don't know, like, maybe if I were, like, more of an artist, right? Like, maybe if I drew more, I would really like the experience of making different dungeons because they would all look different, right? And that would be exciting to me, because it's like, oh, I've never in my life made, like, a sewer environment before. This will be my first time. That's exciting. But, like, I'm not that kind of person. like, I'm not that into drawing, right? Like, I'm not that into that kind of thing. So, like, making a sewer to me, like, drawing it is not that exciting. But, thinking about, like, damn, I really am going over all over the place, but I think it's okay. I'm getting really excited thinking about this stuff because I haven't, like, thought about it in such concrete terms before, so it's, like, exciting and new. But, like, yeah, I'll take this. It's funny and silly. I do think maybe the game is too easy if I can autopilot it like this and it's all good. But of course, like, the difficulty curve is happening. Also, I'm very hungry, so I should stop soon and feed myself. But, like, as a developer, you know, I'm more interested in, like, what happens in that dungeon. But, like, if it's a bunch of puzzles, then, like, the process of making a puzzle can be really engaging. But the process of playing it after that is not going to be engaging in the same way it is for the player, right? Whereas something like a roguelike, like this, it's exciting to me as a player, even though I made the game, because, like, it's unpredictable. And I think, like, with a lot of roguelikes, the game gets more exciting, like, the deeper you go, and, like, sure, the aesthetics of the experience start to fall off, but, your greater understanding of the mechanics, like, unlocks deeper layers of play, you know? Like, the better you understand the game, the more deeply you can play it and experience it, and, game the dynamics and, like, all of that cool shit that I really love about, like, playing Isaac, and the reason I've played, like, 800 hours of it, Um, not necessarily because it has so much content, but because the content, like, comes together in ways that are, like, exciting and unpredictable. Um, and I do experience that. Like, as a developer, I feel like I experience a closer approximation of what a player will experience, especially like an experienced player, when I play this. And so I think it'll have like a longer shelf life for me. Like, part of my decision to make a roguelike was me recognizing that I do my best work when I really want to play the game that I'm making, because it's like, oh shit, I really want to play this. I wish they would make more content. Wait a minute, I'm the developer. Let's go make more content. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's this feedback loop of me being excited by my own project because I want to play it, and so I keep making it. And it's this beautiful thing that happens. And so I understood roguelikes as having a really long shelf life for me. Like, I've played more Isaac than anything else on my Switch, right? And it's still extremely compelling to me. Um, so I was like, okay, if I'm going to be making a game for like 3 years, I want it to have a shelf life like that, And, like, I think as a developer, I'm going to enjoy it for a long time, hopefully for that entire 3-year development process, right? So, like, I end up, it's a good, is what I'm trying to say. Whereas, like, Tears of the Kingdom, um, it was super magic, super compelling, when I first played it. And then, I played a ridiculous amount of it because of course I did. I was really into it, but, like, so much of the magic went away as soon as I had kind of, like, seen everything. Like, it's not like I saw every cave, but to a certain point it's like, okay, this cave has some mushrooms in it, and this cave has some horriblins in it. And it's, like, just not the same thing as, like, discovering a dungeon or discovering XYZ. And I spent a lot of time hanging out in, like, Terrytown, um, messing with building stuff. Like, I tried really hard for a long time to make something that could, like, get big air off of slopes and, like, go really fast. And then I made this thing that was, like, fans with, I made this thing that was, like, fans with, like, ice, meat, like frozen meat as like instead of wheels. So like, you know, it was this thing where you could go down hills really fast. And the fans would give it that little bit of propulsion, but like because of the meat, you could just like shred down slopes. And it was awesome, but that was how I found out that there was kind of a speed cap where like, you know, once you go fast enough, you just kind of fall off the machine. And I was like, oh, okay, so that's kind of unfortunate. Like, this thing that I tried really hard to make, it doesn't really work. So, you know, I felt like by that point I'd gotten everything that I really wanted out of the building mechanics. Which, you know, weren't as deep as I hoped they would be. Um, uh, and, you know, I'm sure the reason you can't go that fast is because, like, you know, in Breath of the Wild, the game would freeze up if you rode the Master Cycle Zero too fast. You know, not like freeze up, but it would just hang for a second. So, you know, it can't, like, load the world around you that fast. I get that. But, you know, like, you know, once I kind of plumbed the depths of that and explored, the whole world and kind of realized that, like, oh, there's not really any, like, interesting landmarks in the depths. Like, the depths was, like, an exciting aesthetic experience at first, and the dynamics were really exciting, of course, until I figured out that you can just, well, I say figured out, but I saw a YouTube video that was like, oh, you can just put 2 fans on a steering stick and just throw a light bloom thing on it and just, like, fly around the whole depths and just, you know, hit all the bulbs. And like, you know, you could choose not to do that, but I didn't. And you know, it's just like, once you've kind of explored everything, it's like, okay, well, I've seen it all, I'm done. Um, and then of course there are like speedrunners, there's like YouTubers who like keep plumbing the depths of it. There's this YouTuber I really like called the Cactus Plant. He plays Breath of the Wild and now Tears of the Kingdom, and he does shrines in like the most impractical way he can come up with. Like, he finds complicated ways to do things that should be simple. And he spends like a really long time trying to make things happen. Like, he's tried really hard to do things like getting a bear into some of the labyrinths, and that's like, that's cool. Like, he is plumbing the depths of that game, like, way further than it's designed for, and that's awesome. But, like, it's also like, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna go play more Binding of Isaac. And it's like, wow, I am super rambling. But, like, all that is to say, like, if I were developing Tears of the Kingdom, I don't think I'd be trying to get a bear into the labyrinths. I mean, maybe I would be, like, maybe, I don't know, maybe if I were a QA tester and I was trying to see what would happen if I did that, I don't know, maybe it would just teleport the bear instead, like, I don't know, like, you know, because that is the thing, like, as a designer, I only understand, like, I have some understanding of how players will play the game, but also I can't get rid of my understanding of how I want the game to be played, right? So if players play it in a different way from how I want it to be played, then to them, they don't know how it's supposed to be played, right? So, I mean, maybe they do to some extent, but they don't know my vision, right? So to them, like, if they find a combo that kind of cracks the game in half and like they just beat it, like, that's really exciting because it's like, oh shit, I just fucking cracked it in half. But if they can do that every run, then that's like, I don't know, probably even they understand at that point that like they've kind of ruined the game. And it's no longer fun because like now they have to like artificially force themselves not to use the strongest strat, and it's just not the same anymore because now they've broken the seal on deciding not to do things that will help them, which is always a weird, unnatural thing to do as a player. What the hell am I talking about? I was talking about, like, you know, enjoying playing something that you're developing in roughly the same way that players will. And, I got onto that, which I guess is tangential but related. And also I'm super hungry. I'm gonna go eat. That was kind of wild. I talked a lot about random shit. I talked about the game for like an hour, and then I talked about stuff for like an hour, but I had fun. I had fun thinking about stuff that I hadn't really thought about before. I hope that was like interesting and like fun. I hope it was good. I'm gonna go eat because I'm mondo hungry. Thank y'all for tuning in. I had a fun time. Yeah. Bye. Thank yous.